becoming president of this marvelous club, the Rotary Club of Edina. And I am filling in for our current president, Joe Hayes, today, who is on vacation. Just a quick thank you to everyone making the meeting possible today. Thank you to Mike Hagen for working the front desk and doing guest intros. Jody Kern will be doing greeter responsibilities and invocation. Heather is actually not here today. Scott MacDonald will be doing the speaker intro. We have video for the marker, and I believe Kaylin is taking photos today, so thank you. Just take a moment to remember Harry Weingartner actually passed away recently on Halloween and was actually Joe Hayes' sponsor, I understand. So please keep his family in your thoughts and prayers. Couple member spotlights. These are both Paul Moody related. Is Paul Moody here? Is he absent today? That's so unfortunate. So on the faribaultmill.com website, you can purchase a blanket that supports the fight against Alzheimer's. 20% of all sales from each blanket will be donated. Now this is Paul's house at Halloween. Can anyone spot the Rotary spirit in this photo? Raise your hand. That's a hint, Josh. Kaylin.
The button?
The button on the skeleton. Took me a minute. It is. Camp E starts today, so I think that's maybe why we're a little light on attendance. We have lots of volunteers participating in Camp Enterprise. So thank you to everyone that's helped making that happen. This is a photo from our recent Hullabaloo, which is, I believe, run by the city. Is that correct, Scott? Yes. And so we have some volunteers. Katie and her husband, I believe, David, weren't you there? Yeah. And some volunteers from Rotaract were there as well, helping pass out candy and treats and promoting our Rotary brand. This is a photo from our last Black Business Mixer, which was at Pimento Jamaican Kitchen, Tommy Beavis's establishment. Val Turner, the CEO of VF Health Fitness Solutions, spoke about her mission to help improve health outcomes for Black and Latino women. It was super cool. I met a lot of amazing people that night. Rotary in the news. Now, I found this fascinating and I know nothing about it, so I don't know what to say about it, but apparently a Rotarian in Austria recently won the Nobel Prize in Physics. So that's pretty cool. Rotarians doing great things in the world. Jody, would you come forward at this time?
Thank you, Shelly. In the interest of our theme today, we're going to talk about the weather. Please rise. While we wait and wait and wait for the weather to turn, let us think fall thoughts. More importantly, let us think rainy thoughts. Let us think about our club goals and the role each of us plays to make the world a better place through our involvement in Rotary. Let us think about opportunities to serve our community in new ways. Let us be thankful for the food and the friends around this table. Let us be thankful that fall will turn into winter and eventually to spring that will come eventually to summer. Please join me in thinking rainy thoughts. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you.
Thanks, Jody.
Thank you, Jody. I'd like to invite Mike Hagen forward at this time to do our guest introductions. There you are, Mike.
We're blessed to have Todd Milburn, our police chief for the city of Edina. Greg Stauffer, who's a guest of Mike Eckert.
I'd like to introduce my guest, Greg Stauffer. He's an avid sailor and an amateur weatherman. Welcome.
We have Tally Flora.
Hi, I'm with the Edina Morningside Rotary Club, and I'm just doing a quick announcement. We are doing our annual poinsettia sale this year, so if you are interested in poinsettias for yourself, we have lots of our club members order for their office or for gifts, and then orders are due Wednesday next week. There's a really nice link on here if you want to pay for it online and order online. Everything's all set up. That's probably the quickest way to do it. And then we have pickup on Tuesday, December the 6th, after the morning meeting. So hope you participate. Lisa Walker already got her order in. Thank you, Lisa. Thanks for letting me make the announcement.
Tally, is Sherry with you?
Sherry Rody is also with the Edina Morningside Rotary.
Okay,
Rotary
Sherry,
Club.
welcome. Okay, that's it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
More Rotary announcements. Tom Cook would like to come up and make an announcement about Thanksgiving baskets.
Thank you. I'm not as good as Henrietta the turkey, though. November 23rd will be here before we know it. That's the day for our Thanksgiving basket assembly and delivery day. We are ready for you guys to sign up, so be sure that you register on Club Runner for lunch and to help with baskets. Let us know if there's a particular team, other people that you want to serve with, and we'll work that out as well. We need peas, we need yams, we need fruit cocktail. We got a lot of corn and green beans coming, but we can probably use anything that you guys bring. So start bringing your deliveries. You can leave them here with the country club, and we'll make sure they get out for basket day. Okay? Thanks, everybody. Go online and register.
Awesome, thank you, Tom. And you can actually just point your phones at that QR code if you want to register right now. Just another quick Veterans Day. So we do not have a meeting here next week, you guys. It is our annual time to honor our vets with our other area colleagues in Rotary, and it will be taking place next Thursday from 11 to 1 at Minnesota Valley Country Club. Today is actually our registration deadline, so you do have to register for this event. So you do have to go onto our website, click the link, and go through the registration process. You are also welcome to bring a veteran guest, and we will pay for their lunch. And if you register other guests, you'll just be billed. But Becky will be billing the difference between, this is $35, so she'll be billing the difference between your normal lunch dues and this price. So if you have any questions about getting registered, please see me today. I don't think Scott needs any major introduction, but Scott MacDonald will be introducing our speaker today, affectionately known as Mac Daddy.
Mac Daddy!
Well, oh wow. Marty Cooper's calling me.
I'm already answering.
Hey, I'm about to introduce the speaker. Can I call you back? Oh. He's on Zoom, he said. I see that. Well, I have this long introduction that I'm not going to give because most of the people in this room know who our speaker is. So I thought it would be kind of interesting to have someone else's perspective say a few words about him. And, well, here it is. I asked Paul Majors for some stuff, and he just said, "Who's Paul Douglas?" So with that,
ladies and gentlemen, here's Paul Douglas.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's Paul.
So I only heard about this because that was done by Paul Peterson.
Oh, really?
I sent it to Russia.
Thank you. Awesome.
Paul Majors. First of all, Scott, thank you very much for the nice introduction. See, you put a lot of time and effort into that. Jeez. I've known Scott for a long time. We did time together, in fact. And thank you for recommending the financial advisor that you did, who shall remain nameless for now, Just so you know, we were able to hack into your account.
There's nothing there.
Congratulations, you own nothing but crypto right now. Good luck with that. Hey everybody, thank you. I want to apologize for the weather if you don't like it. It's not my fault. It's Belinda's fault. Belinda was probably my most famous intern at one point. So was Jamie Yukas over at Channel 4. But it's great to be with you. This is number 3, third time I'm going to get it right for the Edina Rotary. I hope so. We shall see. I feel like I'm with kindred spirits when I'm with the Rotary, especially in Edina. First off, a confession. Being on television and radio was my side hustle. My wife reminded me of this a few weeks ago. I had never thought about it that way, but that was my steady W-2 money, while I could plant some seeds with a series of companies. I've started 7 businesses since I was in college, and sold 3 of them in the last 25 years. Never set out to be an entrepreneur. Grew up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. By the way, my real name is Douglas Paul Kruhofer. Yeah. And my first radio gig, they asked me what my name was. I said, Doug Kruhofer. Long pause. What? I said, Kruhofer, it's not that hard. He goes, you have to understand, our DJs at our radio station can't say their own names. So I thought, okay, well. He said, what's your middle name? I said, Paul. He said, from today on, if you want that $25 a weekend, you will be Paul Douglas. And the name kind of stuck. But legally, I am Doug Kruhofer. So I answered to Doug, Paul, various obscenities, depending on what the weather is doing. But it's good to be here with you today. So Total Weather was the business I started at Penn State. Started with 1 radio station, then grew that to 11 radio stations and a construction company and a TV station. We gave their non-meteorologist forecast twice a day. One day they asked me to come and fill in, and then after I filled in for one day, they said, do you want to do the weekend weather for Channel 16 in Wilkes-Barre, Scranton? We'll pay you $50 a weekend, and we'll put you up at the luxury budget hotel every Saturday night. Luxury budget. Yeah. Earthwatch, I started when I was at Care 11. I was bored with the weather graphics I was using. I saw a presentation. A Japanese gentleman got up at the American Meteorological Society and showed a video, a concept of 3-dimensional weather. Flying through the clouds, kind of a space shuttle perspective, unlike anything I had ever seen. And I went up to him afterwards and I said, this is amazing. I'd love to use this at Channel 11. And he looked at me and he smirked and he goes, this runs on a $5 million Fujitsu supercomputer. Do you have $5 million? And I said, will you take a check? So, what an a-hole. He pissed me off, and I went back, and the 3rd programmer that I went to was able to turn the vision into a reality. And then more recently, Digital Cyclone we sold to Garmin back in 2007, right before the bubble burst. That's the original backyard in Wilkes-Barre, Scranton. This is, I think, where the backyard concept was born. I did not start it, I inherited this. And when I got to Care 11 in 1983, they said, do you think you can recreate that whole backyard weather thing? I said, sure. Then they told me how cold it gets in January. Can I reconsider this? 3 fun-filled years in Chicago. A 3-day weekend would have been long enough, but hey, live and learn. And again, Care 11, CCO TV, satellite news channel, many years ago in Connecticut, just outside New York City. National news, sports, and weather, and I did 21 national shows. It's a little like CNN headline news. And then Ted Turner bought satellite news channel and turn them off because we were competition. So, live and learn. But again, I was bored with the graphics I was using every day at Care 11. I saw this amazing presentation and I asked, why can't a US company do this for a fraction of the cost? So we use Silicon Graphics computers. Some of you in the computer space may remember SGI, Silicon Graphics. And we licensed this to television stations around the world, but it was a lousy business model. We sold software and made a little bit of a spiff off the hardware, but it wasn't an ongoing subscription. There was no recurring revenue. So we had great quarters, we had lousy quarters. Had a brush with this guy, Steven, what's his last name? Spielberg, that's right. As we were making Jurassic Park, he wanted to use our weather graphics for Jurassic Park. Funny story, true story. We spent probably a few thousand hours of time coming up with the animations, the visuals that he wanted. And then at one point, we tried to send Amblin Entertainment a bill, an invoice. And they said, oh no, we're not gonna pay. We're not paying anything for this. I said, you're Steven Spielberg. You're not a nonprofit. He goes, the person who represented Mr. Spielberg said, Paul, here's what we will allow you to do. You can send out a press release with your name and Steven Spielberg's name. That will be enough. And at the time, my CEO wanted to strangle me. You know, this has been a boondoggle, a waste of time, waste of money, opportunity costs. But you know what? That guy was right. Because if it's good enough for Steven Spielberg, it's good enough for a TV news director in Des Moines. So we wound up selling a few hundred of these software licenses. And again, Spielberg wanted a high-tech way to show a storm system moving into Jurassic Park, and we draped Hurricane Andrew imagery over this three-dimensional model. And then we had flybys coming in from every angle. And then a few years later, they called and they said, Paul, we'd like to use your graphics again, your Earthwatch graphics. Can you come down to Ames, Iowa? We're shooting some special effects, some control room scenes. And I got there expecting to just supervise the special effects. I walk in the door. Actually, it was a barn. They turned a barn outside Ames, Iowa into this high-tech weather center. And that's where a lot of the imagery from Twister was shot. I walk in, they go, hey Paul, you want a line in the movie? And I'm thinking big romantic scene with Helen Hunt. They were not thinking that. They go, Paul, here's your line. Hey Bryce, you better come here and take a look at this. And as God is my witness, I did it 9 times before the director finally said, all right, it's good enough. But I still get residual checks from Warner Brothers. Can you see that? This is God tapping you on the shoulder saying, you're not a big deal. You're not a big deal. So the film career didn't work out exactly the way I hoped it would, but it was an interesting experience. And we sold that business for $3 million back in '97 to another weather company, a local weather company. And then, I should have quit. I didn't quit. I decided to take that money and reinvest in a new company called Digital Cyclone, which would try to do a better job predicting the variations in weather. Higher resolution, a better short-range forecast, a more accurate short-range forecast. We were running a model at much higher resolution than the Weather Service. 4-mile grid. And at the time, the Weather Service was using a 20-mile grid. We thought people would pay for this enhanced accuracy. And man, were we wrong. They liked the added accuracy, but there was no way to monetize it. So we pivoted, and instead of focusing on accuracy, we focused on the user experience. This is during the flip phone era. Many of you remember flip phones? 2001, We had Doppler radar on a flip phone for $1 a month. And back then, enough people paid $1 a month for the privilege of having Doppler in their pocket or in their purse. And we ramped that up. It was a pretty steep ramp. Gross margins about 85%, machine revenue. The developers were and are the stars. The meteorologists make good money, but it's the programmers who make the six-figure income. We sold that to Garmin for $45 million. And when people see that, they think, oh, Paul got $45 million. No, I had 103 investors, including my mother-in-law. Word of warning, friends and family rounds, yeah, never ever take money from your mother-in-law. Every Thanksgiving, she'd look at me, she goes, "So Doug, did you piss away my money yet?" No, Nana, we're working on it. Any day now. Nana got a return, but anyway, and again, I should have quit. This was 08, I was still at CCO TV, making pretty good money for a clueless TV weather guy, and they decided, this is obviously when the recession hit, and advertising went off a cliff, and they came to me and said, "Sorry, Paul, your run is over. There's always somebody younger and cheaper and better looking, especially in the TV business, right? You have a life expectancy, you have an expiration date, all of us do." So I took some of that money from the Garmin sale, we did okay, and we built our own studios, and we started doing 3-minute weather segments for TV stations around the country. And then some investors in Denver came to us and said, "Hey, do you think you could stitch this all together into a 24/7 weather channel and compete against the Weather Channel?" Talk about a stretch. We were in a tiny little office building out in Excelsior, and somehow we were able to pull that off to the point where DirecTV actually dropped the Weather Channel for a few glorious days and put us up instead. And Weather Nation is still going. And I supposedly own a minority interest in that. We'll see if it's worth anything. But again, under the heading of business never goes the way you think it will. So, Predictix is my current company, weather consulting, man and machine. Studies show the most accurate forecasts are a combination of man and machine. If you just automate it, just rely on the computer models, you're going to be wrong more times than not. If you look out the window, you're going to be wrong more times than not. It's meteorologists looking at the models and trying to figure out what to believe when. This model tends to work better in this scenario, and that you only learn the hard way. We also had another company called Eris Weather, which was weather data. We sold raw data so businesses could optimize their supply chains and their logistics, transportation. Always amazed at how many companies are in fact weather sensitive. So Predictix had the human element, Eris machine revenue. A company called Ratio was one of many clients. They build smart sprinklers, and they're quite successful in the western US. Why on earth waste water if there's a storm coming in 2 days? So factoring current weather, soil moisture, and future weather into when to activate those sprinklers. Netflix was a client. They actually target suggestions about what to watch based on the weather, among other variables. They have analytics that show if the weather is X, Y, or Z, you're more likely to watch a romantic comedy or a documentary. Every use case is different, and it's fascinating. So we sold Eris Weather to a Finnish company called Vaisala for $30 million January of this year, right before the market started to tank, right before Russia invaded Ukraine. So it is by the grace of God, good luck, and there's always some luck involved. good timing, and great people. Hiring people who are smarter than you, who can do the things you can't or won't do well. One person can't do it all. I don't care. And so it's been about $80 million, the combined value of the 3 companies I've sold in the last 25 years. And again, we got a fraction of that, a nice fraction, but people only see the headlines. They don't understand what it takes to get a business to the point where you can in fact sell it. The remaining business is Predictix. We do briefings for companies like Wells Fargo and Lifetime. They don't like surprises, they want to know days in advance. Snowplow operations, some big snowplow operations, in fact, here in the Twin Cities and in Chicago. Predictix, right now the computers are getting very smart, and there may come a day with artificial intelligence when you can take people totally out of the equation. We're not there yet. People can still add perspective, context, analysis, and experience. Things that to date, even with machine learning, computers can't do. 20 years from now, 10 years from now, I don't pretend to know. We also work with a number of companies that want to look out over the horizon 10, 20, 40 years into the future. Where should we be building new facilities? Where should we reinvest? Is our business model going to be viable in a warmer, stormier, more volatile climate? And so we do these climate scenario analyses. We leverage some of the smartest climate scientists on the planet and the latest research, and we look at every company, which has a different footprint, right? Different facilities, different needs. And frankly, I wake up paranoid every day. If you're a meteorologist in Minnesota, you better be paranoid. Diet of caffeine and stress. Thank you for lunch, by the way. That was some of the best chicken parmesan I've ever had. Normally I come to these lunch talks, and it's mystery meat covered up with a gravy. You're not sure exactly what you're eating, but that was phenomenal. Kudos to the chef. I've talked about, and I was weaned conservative in a very conservative household. My mother and father were Baptist, Lutheran, and Presbyterian. We were always shopping for a better deal, apparently. And I married a Catholic girl, and now I have a Jewish daughter-in-law and a Jewish grandson. So, man laughs, man plans, God laughs. My favorite Yiddish proverb. But I started talking about the connection between a warming climate juicing extreme weather, and made some appearances on MSNBC and Nova. Until recently, did a 3-hour show with Jordana Green, who came down with leukemia about 2 years ago. She has since gotten a bone marrow transplant. It seems to be working. She's generating healthy red blood cells now, but she has to get herself checked. She got a childhood leukemia, which is harder to knock down in adults. In kids, it's curable. In adults, not so much. But people say, how hard can it be being on the air for 3 hours? You just talk for 3 hours, Paul. I said, you should try it sometime. 12 different segments. You want everything to sound different. Speaking of scary. These two guys. And I have to say, and I worked with Bill Curtis in Chicago, and he was legendary. I worked with Lester Holt, who's now anchoring the NBC Evening News. He's amazing. These guys, arguably two of the best local television anchor people that ever existed. And they could not be more different, on and off the air. You know, Don, an award-winning journalist, knew his stuff, photographic memory. Paul, personable, you know, the guy you want to go out and have a beer with, amazing sense of humor, but again, couldn't be more different. But I had a great honor of, here I am, I'm 12. Jeez. What the hell? It was an interesting ride. Keep in mind, we all got together in 1983, and CCO and KSTP were just juggernauts. I think they each had like 35, 40 shares in terms of ratings. Our 10 o'clock newscast was getting beaten by Leave It to Beaver reruns. So we had nothing to lose, right? If you're fifth in the market, you can take more chances. And so we tried the backyard concept, and Paul was the glue that held everything together on and off the air. I tell people of all ages that there is no safe gig. I don't care what gig you have. Are you thinking about a plan B, C, D, E, F? There is no safe gig. The only safe forecast is change and disruption. One of my favorite quotes comes from Henry Ford, who had the vision to look out and imagine a world beyond horses. If I asked my customers what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. But he went on to change the car industry with the Model T and the Model A. Fail, pivot, succeed. One of the only other predictable things, if you're an entrepreneur and you're starting a business, you're going to fail. There will be potholes, there will be closed roads, you'll have to zig and zag until hopefully you don't run out of money and you can get to a sustainable business model. Thomas Edison, credited with inventing the light bulb, over 1,000 patents, thousands of attempts. His team, not Mr. Edison personally, but he had a team of hundreds of interns and assistants who were experimenting with the correct filament. 1879, his team found the filament that would sustain the light bulb, that would keep the lights on. Reporters heckled him, and he goes, "I haven't failed. I found 10,000 ways that don't work." Samuel Beckett, ever tried, ever failed, no matter, try again, fail better. There's no country on earth that does a better job weaning entrepreneurs and launching new businesses than the United States, and I pray that never changes, that we have the incentive. And sure, there's a profit motive, but when people ask, why did you start companies? I said, it's fascinating and humbling to start a company from scratch. And those of you who own businesses, are involved with companies, you understand that. There's the intellectual challenge of, can I stand up a business? Can I prove the business model? Can I make it profitable? For me, and everybody has different gifts. I think God gives each of us unique gifts. But for me, the joy is the initial idea, the vision, connecting the dots, trying to look over the horizon and make a smart bet before it becomes obvious to everyone. If the Uber driver is giving you advice on stocks or businesses, I think the opportunity has passed, right? So I'm the idea guy, but I relied on a series of amazing teams, in some cases with some of the same people. And it always, to me, the people who have failed and persevered, there's no replacement for tenacity. Beethoven's, one of his teachers said he was hopeless as a composer. He persevered. Abraham Lincoln was actually demoted, went to war a captain, returned as a private. Did not let that affect the rest of his life. Sigmund Freud, booed from the stage when he gave his dissertation, kept on writing. I love this story. Alexander Bell took his invention, the telephone he called it, to Western Union. And he was told, what use could this company make of an electrical toy? Alexander went on to have the last laugh. Winston Churchill failed 6th grade. Went on to be the rock that sustained the UK during the darkest days. of Germany's punishing treatment of England in World War II. Albert Einstein couldn't read until he was 7. They thought something was wrong with him. Walt Disney, yeah, he worked for a newspaper, and the editor of the newspaper said, "Walt lacks imagination and has no good ideas." Uh-huh, okay. And by the way, it's worth pointing out, some of you may know this, Disney went bankrupt several times before hitting it big with Disneyland in Pasadena, California. Gertrude Stein submitted poems to editors 20 years before one of those editors finally raised their hand and said, "Yes, we will take a chance on you." Charles Schulz, every cartoon he wrote was rejected by his high school yearbook staff. He just kept on doodling. Dr. Seuss, first book rejected by 27 different publishers. You know, most people after the first, second, fifth rejection would say, "It's not meant to be. Maybe I should do something else." I'm amazed at the people who just plow through, they put the crap blinders on, and they just keep moving forward. Jerry Seinfeld, first stand-up routine, he was actually booed off the stage. That's how bad the crowd thought he was. He persevered, he fine-tuned his jokes. We all know who Jerry Seinfeld is. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Can you imagine the coach? I wonder, how do you come back from that? Yo, I'm the guy who cut Michael Jordan. Well, you're a frigging idiot. I mean, Steve Jobs gets credit for the iPhone, and certainly he was a visionary, but a team of thousands of programmers and engineers worked collectively to invent the iPhone. And now comes interesting revelations in some recent books. He really wanted to make a cool phone, and he envisioned it as mostly a phone. He did not envision this as a digital Swiss Army knife. But thankfully, other members of his team were able to see the bigger opportunity. Elon Musk, have you heard of this guy? Oh, Elon. He also started SpaceX, and 3 of his rockets blew up. Had the 4th rocket blown up, he was prepared to live in his mother-in-law's basement. Thankfully for Elon, it worked. And today, I don't know, this number may have gone up or down, but it's a lot of billions. What do these people have in common? Tenacity, curiosity, creativity, flexibility. I think of all of the traits, and they're all important. Tenacity, the people who fall off their bike and they get right back on the bike and just keep on pedaling. And for me, the television world, the radio world, the media ecosystem is by definition unstable. So I've always wanted to have a plan B. I did not want to put all my chips on the media. I always wanted something else, a plan B, a plan C. And I tell young people, don't be afraid to experiment and fail. There is no stigma to failure in the United States when it comes to business. The stigma is not making an attempt. And I also tell them, hey, it's great to have the money coming in. I understand we all want to pay our bills. W-2 gigs are great. But your personal time, evenings and weekends, try some things. Hustle. A job or occupation that brings in extra money beyond one's regular job and main source of income. The average millennial will have 2 to 4 different careers and dozens of individual gigs. This notion, my dad worked for the same printing company for 40 years, got the gold watch and the party, the retirement party. That ship has sailed. And so, tinker, try some things. Eleanor Roosevelt said it beautifully, the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. She's right. Big dreams are great, I would add, but a flexible, tenacious team of pragmatists willing to fail forward is even better. Say, starting a company, it's a little like dating in the 10th grade. Expect rejection. And be pleasantly surprised if somebody says, okay. Anyway, oh, by the way, if I can ever help you with a weather question or a personal question about Scott, I've got a lot of stories. P. Douglas at Predictix, and I'm sorry about that name, that's kind of a mouthful. If I could, I'd go back and call it something else. By the way, just a quick PS, yes, the climate is changing, it's happening, it's real. It's not a theoretical 20-year down the road thing. It is already warming. And oh, by the way, every threat is an opportunity. The solutions we will require will create trillions of dollars. And so, and I don't know where this came from. Maybe Tom Bernard on KQ. I did not invent Doppler radar. I wish I had. But I still get people coming up thanking me for Doppler radar. And I'm too tired to explain.
Just say thank you.
Yeah, that's exactly
You're
what I do.
welcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, one of my finest inventions. This is my real hair. It has been rearranged, but yeah. A couple of times my wife threatened to strangle me. I'm more of a risk taker, she is not. We had to get a second mortgage on our home in Bear Path at one point. She was not happy about that. I got sued personally by a former CEO who came after me, the home, everything, wanted everything. And so I had to defend myself in court, an expensive, wrenching experience, not only for me, but especially for my wife, who's had sleeping issues ever since. So Michelangelo said, way better than me, every act of creation is an act of destruction. Everything you do has a cost. Predictix is my last company. My wife has reminded me of that. 7 is the charm. I'm done after this one. But I want to thank you for your hospitality. It is always great coming to the Edina Rotary. Thank you, and I think we have a little time for questions, comments, threats. Thank you. You didn't think I could get through all those, did you, in 20 minutes?
I'm impressed.
25 minutes.
Good job.
I'm
Scott has a question.
yes, Mr. MacDonald.
What you and I talked about with Ian, we talked about this the other day. You want to explain the different models that you looked at and you thought that the European models were more accurate?
Yeah, a great question about the models. And in fact, I had a friend who said, Paul, what do? You just do what the models say now, right? What do meteorologists really do these days? And it's not, we are dependent on the models for anything beyond 24 hours, but the art is knowing which model to believe when. And look, if you're doing home maintenance and you go to your toolbox, you want to grab the right tool, the tool that works for a specific problem. And it's the same with weather. And we look at all the models and we're constantly gauging which one is doing a better job, which one is off, what can you depend on. And by every metric I've ever seen in the last 10 years, the European model is doing better than NOAA's models. And that does not make me happy. I would like to wave the flag and say that NOAA has the best weather models. Sometimes they do. They're short range, 18-hour high-resolution HRRR model is the best in the planet when it comes to hour by hour, what time will the thunderstorms hit. They perfected that. NOAA has dozens of models. They have hurricane models. They have all kinds of different models. The European has focused on one model for the entire planet and put all their effort and resources into that. They also do a better job of streamlining R&D and getting the latest physics. Because what is a model? it's a physical it's math, right? And you're trying to recreate a fluid, which in this case is the atmosphere, and how that fluid is going to move over time. So it's fluid dynamics, and the Europeans are doing a better job attracting scientists and getting new innovations and breakthroughs and better math into the models faster. They also do a better job with data assimilation. Literally, as the model is running, they can bring in new data up to the second data, weather balloons, crowdsourcing, weather buoys in the in the Gulf of Mexico. They can bring that in as the model is cooking, which fine-tunes it and makes it even better. You want that, if we could somehow get a perfect snapshot of what the weather is right now all over the planet, the accuracy would be much better. But it's kind of a puzzle, right? We have good data over North America, Europe, much of Asia, Africa, South America, big gaps in the data over the oceans. We rely on ships and weather buoys and satellites. So it's like trying to do a puzzle with half the pieces missing and then complaining, why the 4-day forecast was crap, Paul. So I look at all the models and we look at the trends. Is it taking it east? Is it taking it south? Is it wetter? Is it drier? Is it warmer? Is it colder? But over time, I've learned by making way too many mistakes that the European usually has a better handle. By the way, they charge for the European model. The NOAA models, your taxpayers, our tax dollars pay for that. We pay about $3 a year, all of us, to have the best National Weather Service on the planet. And by the way, we get the most extreme weather than any country on Earth. Hurricanes, tornadoes, floods. No country can compare to the US. They do an amazing job, and I'm not bad-mouthing NOAA, but if you compare NOAA's GFS, which is their global model, with the European ECMWF, the European is still better. Quantifiably better. Just stepping back and looking at the analytics, you say, okay, there's a difference. I hope NOAA closes that gap. I thought they would by now. To date, they haven't. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
It sounds like it's time for another company.
No, God, no. No, I'm done.
Paul, 2 questions. Didn't you recently write a children's book? Question number 1. Question number 2, you talk about being on the radio for 3 hours, and you have 12 segments. Certainly you have people helping you prepare for what you're going to talk about for 3 hours. I mean, those are my 2 questions.
Yeah, thank you, and great to see you again. 12 segments. We do have a producer, but they really let it up to us what we want to talk about or don't want to talk about. And the producer can sometimes tee up specific interviews and, hey, shouldn't we be talking about this? But trying to find that balance between upbeat, fun stories and dreadful stories, which, this stuff none of us really want to talk about, but we feel we have to talk about because it's newsworthy and everybody's talking about it. So a good producer can help fine-tune the flow of the show. Which guest, nope, you shouldn't book this person did a terrible job last time. But they really let it up to the show hosts. And for better or worse, that's just the way the game is played. And yeah, I did write a book. I've written 4 books that nobody read. This 4th one is called A Kid's Guide to Saving the Planet, and it's with a local Minneapolis publisher, 1517. And they came to me and said, we'd like an illustrated book for 4th to 6th graders about the challenges that we're facing right now with air pollution, water pollution, plastic pollution, and climate change. And we don't want to scare them, but young people, I'm always amazed how sharp young people are. And so I set out to write something that would be optimistic, hopeful, that would try to incentivize them to have a role, to get involved. The one thing we all share, we love our kids, we love our grandkids, and by just ignoring these problems or kicking the can down the road, we're making life harder for them. And so I'm still optimistic at the end of the day, combination of technology and policy. And young people, your company better have a purpose other than just making money. What is your business's purpose? Why are you here? How are you making things better? And young people are serious, deadly serious about that. So it gives me hope for the future. And I wrote books not to make money. Somebody once said, Paul, you don't write a book to make money. You write a book because you have something to say. And that has stuck with me over the years. Thank you. Yes?
What do you think about HARP and weather modification and, let's say, weather modification, both for good and for bad, as weaponization?
Yeah, we can nudge around the edges a little bit with weather. We can enhance snowfall in the Sierra Nevada, the western U.S. They tried weather modification in North Dakota, and there was flooding, which may or may not have been linked to the weather modification back in the 70s, so we no longer do weather modification. The litigation, the liability is significant. Can we influence weather on a global pattern? Can we cause a hurricane to detour or blow up a tornado? No, it's all science fiction. At some point, if we can tap into fusion, it requires an order of magnitude increase in energy. And we cannot harness that. So I think a lot of the stuff that's out there is kind of bordering on conspiracy theories. I hate to say that, but we just cannot affect the weather on a large scale pattern. I know China is trying, mainly to alleviate drought. During the Olympics, they did cloud seeding to try to make it sunnier, right? And in certain cases, you can give Mother Nature a nudge. Somebody said, Paul, you should go into weather modification. I said, no. It would be one mad scientist, one PhD, and 50 attorneys. Because you'd be getting sued every other day, because you cannot ever make all the people happy all the time. What's good for golf, Scott? Not good for farmers. So you'd always have that push-pull, and I think in our lifetime, it's not going to happen. Our grandkids' lifetime, never say never. How are we doing here? Time for one more? One more quick one? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, super quick one. Why do you think there's so much debate around climate change?
People are afraid of change, and I think it's easier to not acknowledge reality and to stay kind of where you are. And the fact that it's become a political football is endlessly frustrating. I started talking about this 25 years ago. The data is the data. Acknowledging reality does not make you a liberal or a conservative. It means you have common sense. And there was a groundswell of scientific evidence 25 years ago, and that evidence has only increased since then. So now, and I think people are afraid of change. Well, if this is true, is this going to change the way we live? Do I have to live in a yurt and pedal a rickshaw to work every morning? How is this going to affect me? So I think there's some of that fear of the unknown. It's easier to ignore it or to deny it. But I think even now, today, many Republicans are on board saying, yeah, it's happening. We should do something about this. Something that doesn't blow up the economy. So how do we turn a negative into a positive? And I think Sir Richard Branson said it's the greatest wealth creation opportunity in the history of mankind. Coming up with clean solutions that give us everything we want with a lighter footprint on the planet, the only home God gave us. And we're doing it for our kids and our grandkids. But a lot of people are going to make a lot of money figuring out clean tech solutions, better batteries, electrify everything, including agriculture. So at the end of the day, I'm optimistic about that. And wouldn't it be great if we didn't have to be dependent on Saudi Arabia and Russia for imported oil? We have all the energy we need right here. We just need to find clever ways to harness what God gave us for free. Solar, wind, hydro, nuclear, I think needs to be part of the equation. We're going to figure it out because at the end of the day, we won't have a choice. But thank you for that very good question. Thank you, everyone. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Paul. We appreciate your talk today. I especially appreciated your comments on just the reminder that it's okay to fail multiple times before we really succeed in life. And you've had a super interesting journey, so thank you for sharing it with us. Rotary is a global network of 1.3 million neighbors, friends, leaders, and problem solvers who see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change. From literacy and peace to water and health, Rotarians are always working to better our world, and we stay committed to the end. In honor of your presentation today, we will make a donation to Northside Boxing Club, a local nonprofit offering positive connections with youth every evening at a gym, providing classes, tutoring help, and a nutritious meal from a local restaurant. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You can sneak off. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Paul has another engagement, so he's going to be leaving us now.
There will
but
be no weather page in the start.
Thank you.
If I don't get back to do that. Thank you, everyone.
Opportunity Alley, just some reminders for signups. I believe we are still looking for male counselors for Camp E. Maybe talk to me if you're interested. We have a Feed the Homeless event on November 12th and a Veep bag packing event on November 16th. And Thanksgiving baskets. All those opportunities can be signed up online. November 3rd through 5th, we have Camp Enterprise going on right now. November 10th, next Thursday again, is our Veterans Day program. We have no weekly meeting. December 15th is our club holiday party. And December 18th, the Peterson family will be doing a Christmas concert.
Shelly, they have to buy tickets by next Friday, the 11th. So if
Okay.
you do plan on going to the Christmas party, or the Christmas concert with Paul Peterson, please make sure that you purchase your tickets from the Dakota by next Friday at 5 p.m.
Okay, and are they holding a certain number of tickets for our club, Caleb?
Yes, they have 32 tickets on hold.
Okay,
And
so coordinate.
There's still some left, yes.
Coordinate and call the Dakota. Awesome, thank you. So in Paul's honor, I chose a weather-related quote to end the day. You can learn to prevent a storm, or you can learn to ride the storm. If you learn to ride the storm is not a problem anymore. That is a quote from an Indian yoga guru named Yogi Vasudev. Meeting adjourned.